Hi, I'm Erin Marcus. Welcome to the Ready Yet podcast. We're excited to bring you more than 100 episodes of interviews and insights designed to help entrepreneurs get the financial and emotional freedom they need in order to build a business and a life they're proud of. Oh, welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. This could have been 2 episodes because Joseph and I have been chatting for 20 minutes about the craziness that we see out in the world. So before we get into it, tell everybody a little bit officially who you are and what you do.
First of all, thank you for having me on the show, Erin. So I'm Joseph Lombardi. I'm the owner and founder of Ironhawk Financial. I've been in business for 21 years. I won 27 industry awards. I've been featured in major publications like International Business Times, Business Insider, Market Insider, The Daily Caller. I was on the cover of many magazines, the who's who in building and construction, the top 40 advisors in the country. I'm a published author. I've written 3 books that are all available on Amazon Kindle. Being Your Own Bank, There's a Better Way Than a 401k, Long-Term Care Without Long-Term Pains. I also have my own radio show, Money Talk with Ironhawk, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, on all Apple products, Spotify, CarPlay, Podcast Nation, globally, actually. And I'm 5-star rated on Google, A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau, at thousands of clients and billions of dollars of protection. And I can keep going, but I think that's more than enough.
I think that, so that's all suffices to say, you know what you're talking about. This is not, so you've already passed my litmus test of people who talk about something that they've never done, right? So we can already check that box. But this is why I'm so excited to continue our conversation and share this with people. I come out of financial services. That was my big fancy corporate job before I just couldn't do it anymore. My fancy title was Senior Vice President of Business Development for the largest long-term care insurance wholesaler in the country. What that did was it got me into a lot of rooms way above my pay grade, and I got to meet a lot of amazing people. And what I saw, and this is where I want to kick this off with you, is that the difference between people who have money and the difference between don't have money is information. Because the products are accessible. If not just where to look, but most people wouldn't even think that it's out there.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. I started my journey working at a small Northwestern Mutual.
Oh, they were one of my clients.
Yeah, but then I was at MetLife, and then I went to Guardian and Mass Mutual and started my own business. And I took a little bit of what I learned from all these major carriers. And I agree with you. I realized a lot of people don't know this exists. And that's all by design, if you really think about it. When's the last time you've ever seen or heard a financial commercial about a strategy or a product? Never.
It's illegal, by the way.
I know.
You want, like, people, and I said this to you before, I don't know if it's age, been around long enough. I grew up in Chicago, so the dirty underbelly of how things work was never a secret. But I don't think people realize that it is illegal to advertise half of what you would want to know about financial services. You can't say it.
Nope. No, it's barred. And it's barred because IRAs, 401k, SEP Simples, pension, deferred comp, 457s, profit sharings, those are all in collusion between Wall Street and the government. And they want you in those accounts because A, it's illiquid, B, it's high feed, C, you're handcuffing your money for decades.
You're borrowing it for pennies on the dollar while you're sitting getting nothing out of it.
Are you going to sell when the market's up 20% and banks are lending at 0% interest rates? No, you're going to hold it until the market crashes. You lose,
and then you're going to get nervous because you're a human.
And then you're going to sell. You're going to buy high, sell low, and then you're going to dollar cost average your way in every week or month into the market, which is like the worst thing you can do.
And I don't know that you know the answer to this. Well, maybe we do know the answer to this. Why? I understand with everything going on right now, and it just happens to be a day where some things happened yesterday that came through at the Supreme Court while we're recording this. And the election and the debate was last week. I didn't even watch it. I did laugh at a lot of the best tweets that came
Oh,
after.
that was hilarious.
There are some really funny people out in this world. But we're all waiting, right? This whole country is waiting on bated breath for something to happen instead of just doing what they need to do for themselves.
100%. 100%. We are all equal under God. There shouldn't be a government, to be honest, because that gives power to other equal people under God to tell us what we can and can't do. So if you really understand it, you have one shot on this earth to do what you need and want to do. And your biggest commodity is not money, it's time.
Time. What
The
is that?
time goes by so fast.
Wait, what is that phrase? Act as if money we act as if money is temporary and time is permanent. And it's really the other way around, that money is permanent and time is temporary.
100%. And that's why we live in the United States of America Corporation. Because if you add up federal tax, state tax, FICA, Medicare, unemployment, Social Security, sales, property, gas, tobacco, alcohol, there's 16 of them.
Luxury cars.
Yeah. We work from January all the way to August for
Before,
free.
yeah. Here's the thing, yes and no, because I do feel when the firemen rush towards my burning house instead of away from it, it's not completely free. There are a few systems here that do work. And to me, firemen is always the first.
Yeah.
They run towards the problem, right? Let's pay them what they need. Education isn't really serving anybody. It used to be a thing. It's not really working the way it used to. But if you look at, isn't it the Scandinavian countries, they say pay so much more in taxes, but because the services that they receive are so good, nobody's unhappy about it.
Correct. And us as Americans, we're not getting anything.
We're not, except for the firemen and the policemen.
Yeah, I gotcha. So, yeah, we get something, but the value we pay into Social Security. But if you just took those dollars and just like Apple stock or something,
Right.
you'd have 8 times the amount of money, which means they're stealing that from us, but nobody does the math to figure it out. But yeah, so we're in a system that is designed to steal our time and our attention and to keep us occupied so that the powers that be can run the entire country the way they want. They told us aliens were real, but then they tell us for decades they weren't. So they know they're 70, 80 years ahead of us. Think of 1940. That's where we are to them right now. So they want to keep us in the shadows. They go to war in Iran, not because they care about oil, but because all the biblical texts, all the different archives that were raided, that they took back, so they know the power, and they lie to us constantly about everything.
So you're saying not being in debt. And one of the things I want to point out that you're not saying is you don't get to go do anything. We're not talking about living a life of poverty so that you have no debt. That is not what you mean.
No, what I mean is I have clients that make 40 to 50,000 each. So they're living on, let's say, 90,000 a year. They're millionaires. I have clients who make $750,000 a year and their net worth is negative. So what people don't understand is it doesn't matter what the gift that God gives you. It's what you do with that gift. And when I say that gift, monetary value, which is the transaction of your time converted into monetary value. So if you are taking that time that God gave you, because God gave you your time, you decide to change that God time into a US currency, a dollar. That's your time. And when you're blowing it recklessly on Uber Eats and vacations and scrolling at 10 o'clock at night and I'll click that, I'll buy that. I don't need it. I don't want it. I'm just bored. What you're doing is you're robbing yourself of the gift that God gave you that you could have spent those dollars to help your future self, right? Because we have a past self, a present self, and a future self. And if you don't spend the time and energy to protect your future self, nobody's going to do it.
Nobody will. And one of the things that I've learned and become very aware of is that so much of the mindless spending, and we're going to get way conspiracy theory here, so people who know me are going to think I'm nuts, but it's part of a pattern to pacify myself. I think the meme that I found last December was, are you relaxing or are you shutting down and disassociating? Right? And so how much of what we are doing with our money is a version of disassociating from the anxiety, I haven't turned my television on in about 4 months. I had friends, I had two friends, like somebody who popped in my head this morning. So I texted her, I'm like, oh my God, how are you? And she went on a rant about after what happened yesterday. I had to go look up what happened yesterday. But I have never felt more sad about the state of things, and at the same time completely disassociated from it. Like, it is nothing. I don't have kids, so I think that's one thing. I'm not directly worried about the world they're going to grow up in, so that's an alleviation there. But what you're talking about is so alignment with living my life of intention, and you're talking about that there is additional tools that you don't even realize are available to you to be more in control of your own world.
Yeah, 1000%. Just to touch on the anxiety thing, what I've learned is that if you live in the past, you're living in depression. If you're living in the future, you're living in anxiety. And when you live in the present, which is very hard to do, that's where you're at peace with yourself. And to reiterate what you just said in regards to the tools, there's the easiest way to explain it, because I can go depth where I'll be speaking almost Chinese to your listeners, they won't understand much. Is it comes down to the 2016 debate, believe it or not. I know we're back in politics, right? We have Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. Hillary tells Donald Trump, you pay no taxes, and that makes you bad. And Donald Trump said, that doesn't make me bad, that makes me smart. I use the same IRS codes that your donors use. And you had the chance for 30 years to close those loopholes, and you decided not to. That's what I run my business on. I use that code. What the code they're talking about, which your listeners can easily Google, is called IRS Code 7702. So what my clients do, I have thousands of them across the world, is they use that IRS code, just like Donald Trump does and Hillary and all the wealthy
The
people.
one percenters, right?
The 0.001 percenters, believe it or not, because you're talking about $1 trillion industry that isn't mainstream. Name me another $1 trillion industry that the average American or
Don't know
doesn't
about.
exists. Trillion with a T. That's filling up every football field and baseball field in the country with $100 bills at the top. If you understand that this is a $1 trillion industry and the average person doesn't know it exists, that's what I bring to the average person. I have clients who, yes, they do $50 million a year. I have clients who do $500 a month. They use the same code. And not to overwhelm again your listeners, the way I like to explain it very simply is we all know who Elon Musk is, right? Why doesn't he pay a lot of taxes? Because what he does is he takes his Tesla stock, right? Let's say he needs $100 million for a SpaceX rocket. Us Americans would do is we would sell our Tesla position of 200 million, give the government 100 million to net the 100 million we need to buy the rocket. So it actually costs 200 million for that $100 million rocket. He doesn't do that. He leans or loans a lien against his Tesla stock. So he still owns his Tesla stock. He didn't sell it. He didn't give the government half and lose his growth on it for the next 30, 40 years. He's still earning interest on it, even though he's leaning it. He leans his Tesla stock for 100 million while still earning interest on it, takes that to buy the rocket. And because it's a loan or a lien, it's legally tax free. And that's what my clients do on a smaller scale is they invest in this strategy. There's no 59.5 rule, no 10% penalty, no federal tax, no state tax. It's sue proof. It's divorce proof in some states. It cannot lose because it uses option contracts, similar to how billionaires use derivatives. It's the same strategy there. And the thing's been averaging almost 15%, 14.92, tax-free compounding over the last 20 years. Has your retirement done that? No, first of all, your retirement is taxable. Second of all, be lucky to average 5 taxable, which is like 3%. And these guys are averaging 14.92.
So why don't more people do it?
because the average American can't even afford a new set of tires if they needed to pay for them in cash tomorrow. Over 50%, closer to 70% of Americans can't afford a new set of tires tomorrow if they had to pay cash. So how are they going to be able to put away 500 a month, 200 a month, 10,000 a year when the average American's net
And it's
worth
worse,
is
right? It's getting worse because look
way
at what
worse?
these kids are up
They're
against.
squishing the middle class.
Right? There's no way. They can't afford housing. There's
Correct.
no way for them to launch.
It's worse than the Great
adulthood.
Depression. When you take a look at what the income is and what the cost of the set asset is, whether it's a house, a car, a business, the cost of the asset, even though we're making more money, what did our grandparents buy their first house for?
My mom bought, now I don't know about my grandparents, but I'm older than you. So by almost enough where my parents are your, not quite enough. I could have been your mother. There would have been a bit of
You've been on MTV.
I would have been on MTV, but it's
10 and pregnant. It is 24 now, and we do know I want to go down that route.
Is it like I got 15 years on you?
Yeah.
I did run into somebody, this was decades ago. Some guy asked me literally if I wanted to make out with him. I think I was 30 at a Janet Jackson concert, and he was clearly a teenager. And my girlfriend looked at him and said, she's old enough to be your mother from an inner city school. And I go, and I went to an inner city school. But one of the things I'm curious about, because I've been around now long enough to watch this ebb and flow. And I've seen as an adult in the workplace, I have been through 3 different recessions and 2 or 3 booms. Where is this headed? Because to me, it just rocks back and forth. It swings a little far, it swings a little narrow, but it just swings. And to me, that's like more to do with natural law than that's a law, ebb and flow. That's like just how the world works.
What, in my opinion, what I think is going to happen is I think they're going to allow Donald Trump to win the elections. I don't think our elections are fair anymore, but we don't put on that.
Oh, no, it's been so long since that.
So
Your
yeah.
local election, by the way, like before you think either you or I are like doom and gloom, get involved in your local stuff. That's where that affects your life.
That's your community. That's your town election, your school board.
Get involved there.
Yeah, I agree. Don't try and be national because that's already been bought and sold decades ago. Yeah, I agree. I think that is a beautiful bit of advice is if you feel a certain way or you have a certain belief system.
Involved in your world.
What I think is going to happen is the Trump's going to win the election, which I believe is already rigged, but it is what it is. And I think they're going to then put Trump in and crash the economy. And just like they had the death toll when Trump was president, and as soon as Biden was president, that death toll just magically disappeared on CNN and MSNBC. It was there on Monday, and then like Biden's in there. Oh, no, we don't have a death toll anymore. Nobody died. No, COVID's great. It was one. So I think they're going to do the same thing, but not with killing people. But it's still going to kill people because money's going to starve people to death. But they're going to do the same thing instead of some guy eat a bat head. Wuhan lab, excuse me. Oh, did I say something? So what do you see, Dr. Fauci? Oh, never mind. So I think they're going to do the same thing, have their Dr. Fauci of finance come in and say, this economy never would have happened if Biden was still president. And they're going to try and cripple Trump because they don't care about Trump. Trump's not the problem. The movement is the problem. Right. People waking up, people realizing what's going on. TikTok. Why are they attacking TikTok so much?
Right, out of everything.
No, they give you real information there. I advise every listener here to download TikTok. And no, I'm not a Chinese spy.
No,
because you can actually figure out what the heck's going on. It's the last bit of unregulated information. Yes, there's quacks there, but go to X. There's quacks everywhere.
To my point about getting involved, again, I have never felt more unrelated to what's going on in politics. And I'm a journalism major. Like I was stay informed, and now it feels so irrelevant. But that being said, how does somebody, and even with the ebb and flow, I think what people need to realize is even with the ebb and flow, the things that don't ebb are the tools that they're using. The people in power, the people with money, if they're use the tools that they're using, they will protect those with their lives.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah, and they don't. The government doesn't care about you. Unfortunately, I don't want to say anything to hurt people's feelings, but they don't care about
Well,
us.
right, that's why I stay local. That's what matters. Those
Yeah, I
people
mean,
care about
they,
you.
they they make you smart enough to get a job to pay taxes and dumb enough to realize that they own you. And it's all done by design. And so like I tell everybody, get a budget, tell people what they want to do. We live in an instant gratification debt society. They're giving $250,000 loans to 18-year-olds who can't even tie their shoes
I
to go to
remember
college.
when I was 18 in 1988 and I got a credit card at the student center because I wanted the dictionary and thesaurus that they were giving away. And they called my mother and I had a job. They called my job. I worked for my cousin. He called my mother. Like it was, and now it's, oh.
Yeah, it's like you had to give blood and go through 15 different steps to get a credit card. Now they're handing them out like
For
condoms at like,
$500, right? For
yeah,
a $500
yeah. You can go
limit.
to any department store. They're like, "Can you spell Nike?" They're like,
And
"N-O."
we learned nothing.
Here's $500.
We learned nothing. One of the actuaries I used to work with, John Hancock, he's the one who said this to me. When the crash of '08 happened, they were predicting it. They were going to their Society of Actuaries meetings and literally placing bets to see who would be there next year. It was that, like, they saw this coming. They knew that was coming. And he said that if you want to look at what is the American superpower is finding the loophole.
Yep.
The American superpower is finding the loophole.
I call it black, white, and gray. That's what I call it. So black, you're going to jail. White, you're getting effed. Gray, you're saving a couple bucks. That's pretty much
And
how I run my life.
everything you're watching people get convicted of is things all people do, all of that group does. And just every so often
You're talking about, not to get too crazy, but the average American does something wrong, they go to jail for jaywalking. These multi-billionaires run islands where pedophiles,
right.
they
And
they
nothing.
literally rob people's pensions and cripple people's lives, and hundreds of thousands of people die when these pensions go under because they don't have money for healthcare. They
Healthcare,
can't get in the
right.
hospital, they can't take their medication. And they're like, okay, you get to go in a country club for 5 years and play some tennis. I mean,
Well, and I don't have these conversations to rile people up.
no.
My goal with this is actually the opposite. My
Yeah.
goal with this conversation is to not rile you up. It's to show that it's not worth your energy to
Yes.
get riled up.
Correct.
Because I'm not saying you shouldn't protest when you see something you don't agree with. I'm not saying you shouldn't vote. I'm not saying any of those things, but when you watch how derailed people are for days and weeks and months at a time because of the constant onslaught of the doom and gloom that we are fed, what if instead I protected my little energy bubble?
Yes.
By not engaging, by getting involved locally, by changing my world, by not feeding the machine, by using the things that you're talking about. And it ain't easy. You are up against neuroscience. You are up against the, right?
In the food, in the television, spelling. They're literally in broad daylight saying what they're doing. They're TV programming. What program am I watching? It's in our normal vocabulary, and the average American doesn't realize that their biggest goal is the light in God that's in you, not to get all ooh.
Oh,
But
I'm way woo.
I was gambling, I was drinking, I was smoking, and I quit a lot of that stuff. And man, I shed all these demons, and my life, my marriage, my relationship with my children, my business, everything just boomed. I'm on all the DraftKings commercials nationwide. I'm Joe L. You can see me on TV like every day. And that's because I was one of their biggest gamblers, right? So you can imagine how much money that I donated. I could have taken those dollars, I could have helped people. I could have helped my business, I could have hired business, So that's what I've been doing. I've been growing my business
I was going to
nationally.
ask you, what was the catalyst for deciding to walk this path instead
Um,
of,
I looked
because with
around.
your knowledge, you could be making so much money in the traditional financial services world, and it'd
Correct.
probably be easier.
Way easier. Yeah, I already do over 7 figures. Life is great. But it came down to a wake-up call. Like I gained a lot of weight. I used to have a six-pack. I lost who I was. My marriage wasn't doing so good. There's all these things that were happening negatively. And I said, what's the main cause? And it was these demons, like the gambling demon, the gluttony demon, the wanting more and not
It's
being
the
happy with what you have.
disassociating. It's disassociate. It's how can I soothe the anxiety, the fear, the worry, the stories
Hmm.
instead of just feeling?
Yeah, when I can tell you, because I'm on day 109, having gambled, which is good
Nice.
for me. It's just something that I just, you just shred it, and it feels empowering, and I feel like I'm filled with more light. I feel like God is choosing me. I'm doing the right thing. I'm helping a lot of agents across the country. I'm helping a lot of people. Like I said, I'm 5-star rated on Google, A+ on the Better Business Bureau, zero complaints, and I'm dealing with billions of dollars of protection. I'm dealing with people's life savings. I'm doing the right thing. And when I'm not led by having dollar as my God or my top,
Yes.
replacing that dollar with Jesus and God, it totally, or Yeshua, who's his real name. And that's just what has changed my life completely. And it's being awake to what's going on. It's being conscious of my decisions, feeling in control, right? Because lack of control is anxiety. And when
Yes, yes,
people don't
yes.
have that lack of control, they're eating Burger King and McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts and large iced coffee. Believe me, I've been there.
Sounds
And
very
like,
specific,
yeah,
right?
and you've done all, and you're like, what the heck am I doing to
What am I
myself?
doing?
Like,
And I congratulate you for you figured it out a decade earlier than I did. And here's the thing, I'm not an organized religion person.
no, me neither.
So you can pick, right? Whether it's
Yeah,
Jesus for you, whether it's God for you, whether it's the universe for you, whether it's spirituality. For me, my version is Mother Nature. My
yeah,
version is Mother Nature. That's where I am completely grounded, completely connected,
our environment.
completely one.
One, yeah,
And so don't get hung up on what you call it.
yeah,
And it's
because
just
God could
this
be
idea
anything.
of going in instead of out.
We and it doesn't matter Buddhist, Italian, as long as you have a higher power, you realize you didn't create yourself. So if I didn't create myself, that means there has to be a higher being that did. I didn't make these walls. I don't make this illusion. I didn't create an eyeball. I didn't. So if I know that, I think we're here on this earth very simply is to elevate our soul from, because if we're, think about it, we're all God's children, and I do believe that beyond a reasonable doubt. So if we're God's children, what do children grow up to be? Adults. That's what children do. What if we're God's children? We all grow up to be God's. So if you understand that, I think the ultra wealthy do understand that. And I do believe that if they let us grow, then we are a threat to them, because we all are equal, by the way. And let's say there's levels. The way I look at it is like third grade, right? If you do really good in third grade, what do you get to do?
Go to fourth grade.
If you do okay in third grade, but you don't really do much, what do? You stay, right? Purgatory or reincarnation. What happens if you do really bad, like bad things? So you go to second grade, they demote you. I think that's what our souls do. I think our souls grow up, our souls grow down, our souls stay the same. And it has to do with learning and understanding and being awake. And I hate the great awakening and you're woke. But it really
That's
comes,
different. That's
yeah, but it really comes down to like just being present to your reality and your decisions, and understanding that I am not the most important thing in this world. God made me as part of. And when you take the selfishness and the narcissistic out of
and the
your,
fear.
yeah, and exactly
It's
that
you.
out.
If you go back to even the Hawkins scale, what's the easiest way to control people? Keep them in fear.
Yeah, that's the wolf and the sheep. How does
It's
one wolf control
keep
100 sheep?
keep them in the fear. Keep them in the fear.
So it's shedding that.
And it's not, and the other thing, and just your energy coming through, it's not about being angry about any of it.
No, it's it's
It
it's
it's
it.
releasing. It's not about holding on to the anger about any of it.
No, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We sin. And if you spend all your time focusing on sinning and what I did wrong and I should have, and that's called living in the past, and that's depression. And if you spend all your time saying, "Oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds and I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to do that," that's living in the future. That's anxiety. So what you need to do is understand where you are, right? A dream is in your head, a goal is written down. So don't have dreams, have goals. Take those dreams and turn them into goals, like I did. How am I going to grow my business? How am I going to be a better husband? How am I going to be a better father? How am I going to help people? Am I walking in God's energy?
But
Am
how do
I?
you
Am I?
become the highest version of you that you can? And one of the things you said earlier that I totally agree with, like you can have a goal, but if you are chasing money,
That ain't it.
it will.
If
I
that's
have
your
gotten
why,
myself into
you're gonna
more
fail.
problems
Yep.
chasing money as
Yep.
opposed to achieving a goal or living in intention.
I can't begin to tell you the blessings that have been opened up in my life when I started shedding demons. Perfect example. I was one of the top estate attorneys in the country here in Connecticut. He gave me a referral, right? It was a huge referral. Millions and millions and millions of dollars rolling over. I made more money than people can fathom. I didn't have to give him his cut. I verbally said I would, but there's nothing in
There's
writing,
nothing right.
right? So I could have walked away with six figures and said, but at the end of the day, I did what I said I was going to do because my word is my bond. And guess what happened? I got six more of almost the same identical opportunities with estate planning, ILA trust, second to die policies, people trying to save tens of millions of dollars in state taxes because they're reducing the tax code next year. Have been doing the right thing. I can't tell you the blessing, the karmatic energy, everything's a rebound. You give negative energy out, it comes back to you tenfold. You give positive energy out, it comes back to you
Well,
tenfold.
the other thing that I like about what you're talking about, and it's a really good thing to land on, is you work in the world of money. So many people who want to embrace a higher power will also try to tell you that money is bad. And that's not it.
No,
Like,
no,
no, like you are working squarely in the financial world,
yeah.
helping as many people as you can make as much money as they can. And while doing that, embracing higher power, best self, be of service. These things go together very nicely. They are not mutually exclusive.
No, I've been in this industry for over 2 decades, and I've worked in Wall Street, and I've seen the Wolf of Wall Street movie, the drugs, the girls, I've seen that side of it, how they talk about people, and it's really bad. And I didn't want to be a part of that world. There's clubs I could have joined because I might go to the White House. I'm part of the ALU. I talk to congressmen. There's things that you could do that I my number one goal is the safety and growth of my children, making sure that they are happy, healthy. My children have all the same issues everyone else does: ADHD, hyperactivity. That's just all the red dyes and all the
Right.
food that our diets all poison on purpose. They're poisoning the water. You got to. There's always trying to find ways to make the best of it. There's never going to be a perfect world unless you're God or if you're in heaven. If you're lucky to hit that level, which I think is way higher than where we are now, and we're always going to struggle, and it's trying to do decisions, right? Is finance everything? No, but if you have your money straight, your life is so much
So much
easier.
easier. What is that phrase? Money isn't everything, but money touches everything.
Yeah, and I have the way I look at money doesn't make you happy, but it solves problems, which makes you happy. So
Yeah.
like my wife needed a new truck. I bought her a brand new Escalade. That was cool. I bought it in cash. I never thought I could do that. Like, who? Why me? My parents divorced at 4. I lived in an attic. I lived in no running water. My mom wanted an abortion. She didn't want me. My dad was working construction. He was an alcoholic. Like, I came through this crazy life that I should not be. Like, I should not be at the level that I am at now. But you know what? When I was younger, I always said, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to help people. I'm going to be the best financial planner there is. I'm going to make a ton of money. I'm going to do all these things. And what happens is you speak it into existence.
You get into
And
existence.
when you speak it into existence, some people look at that as lying. I'm here, I'm new in the financial industry 20 years ago. I'm like, I'm one of the best financial advisors. I maybe had 6 months under my belt. That's lying. You're a liar. It's no, I'm training my subconscious mind that's telling me to beat my heart right now and breathe and have my lungs expand and have blood flow through my body. I'm not thinking about any of that stuff. Something is, that's my subconscious. So you train your subconscious mind that you are the best, you are good, you are worthy. Whatever happened in the past doesn't define
Right.
your future. You tell yourself these things on a daily basis, and man, you're almost like it's almost like a cheat code
Right.
where you're
A
training
hack. It's
yourself.
a life hack.
It really is. And all these people that say, "Oh, I wish I could, I can't." I don't want to sound corny. I know I got 3 kids, but it's like the little engine that could. If you say you can't, you
You
won't. If
can't,
you say
right.
you can, you will. Either way, you're right.
It's
And if
so
you train
true.
yourself that you can, and again, I'm not here saying that I'm like the richest person, great, but I have a great freaking life, and it is very comfortable. I have everything I need, everything that I want. My kids have everything they need. No, they're not spoiled, and but my
It's
daughter
also
was good.
it regardless of the money, it's the you mentioned before, it's the control over your own life. I call it be in charge. I don't need all the money in the world. I need to be in charge of my life. That
Yes,
empowerment, that freedom, that's the driving force.
I have a 9-year-old daughter. She won regionals for New England. We had to go to nationals in New Jersey. I'm in Connecticut. Do you know how much it costs for a hotel room at nationals where everyone's flying in? The room alone was $10,000 just
Oh
for the
my
room.
God.
Let alone the entry fee, the dresses, the 20,000 a year in dance I spent. I'm able to give that to my daughter, which builds her self confidence, makes her feel good about it. She's on stage. If I showed you pictures of you would be like, "Are you kidding me?" It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. She's 9, been doing it 1 year, and she's winning, and she's amazing. It's like she was born for
Natural,
it.
born for
But
it.
it's like I'm able to provide that for my daughter, and do you know how awesome that feels as her father to know that I'm able to give that to her, whether she does it and she's not going to be on Broadway, or I'm not saying that, but just the self confidence she's getting and
Oh, it'll
learning and
serve her
feeling
for
good.
her whole life.
When doing that as a parent, which my children are the most important thing in my world, I would die for them in a second to have their safety. But when you understand that,
It changes your decisions.
it does. I'm not when you again not being selfish, not hoarding the money, spending it on things that would make my
Yes.
family happy. Your instant quality of life better. Driving a nice, safe vehicle, living in a nice, safe neighborhood, having a yard for my children, having a pool when it's hot out. Those are the cool things that you're able to do. I'll be 40 in 2 weeks. And when knowing that I was able to accomplish this all because when I was young, came from nothing, that I said, I'm going to do this.
Yep.
And when you have that, and what robs most of these children from success is they don't know what they want to do.
Most children, most adults I talk to don't know what they want.
If you don't know what you want to do as
There's
you're
no way to
living your
build it.
life,
If you don't make decisions for you, people who are not vested in you get to make those decisions. And it doesn't make those people wrong or bad. It just makes them have different priorities than you. We don't have to
yes,
make them bad, but doctors, lawyers, the government, whatever, they're going to get to make your decision. The boss, whatever, they're going to make your decisions for you if you don't make them for you.
if you don't build your own dreams, you're going to help somebody else build their dreams.
Yeah, it's
And
that
it's so,
simple.
and that's what made me open my own company, because I realized I was taking my labor and all these people that I was making a ton of money. They were taking half on top of the government taking half. So I was like, I'm getting a quarter of my
Math
own.
is not making sense.
Yeah. So like me, because Steve Harvey has whatever you think about him has a really good little 2-minute video on. We're all on the rock, and we all have our wings out. And there's people that just stay on the rock till they die, and they never got to fly, and they never got to take the risk and get the top of Maslow's heart self
Self-actualization.
accusation,
Right.
feeling
That
good about yourself. It feels great.
you're never going to look at that if you can't take care of your basic needs. You don't
Correct.
get to move up the pyramid if you don't take care of your basic needs of safety and food and health.
100%. And that just comes to working your butt off. I've been doing this 20 years, but I wasn't making the money I was at, not the level as I was not nowhere near as smart as I was. I was cold calling every Monday for 4 hours, every
I
Thursday for
remember
4 hours, every
those days.
Saturday morning for 4 hours, getting up on getting people that mess with you.
Perseverance, it's awareness, it's a lot of things. And I hate to cut you off because we could go on forever. We'll have to do
Yeah.
round two. If people want to continue this conversation with you, what is the best way? We'll make sure all your links are in the notes, but what's the best way for them to find you?
First of all, Aaron, I want to let you know I'm offering all your listeners all 3 of my books at no charge, absolutely free. There's a better way than a 401k,
I
long-term
love
care
that. It's a
without
great
long-term
name.
pain, and being your own bank, right? Getting out of the government banks and 401ks. And so all you have to do is write an email to Joe, my first name, Joe, at iron like the metal, hawk like the bird, financial, Joe at ironhawkfinancial.com, and just put free books. And just let me know you heard me on the Aaron Marcus show, and I'll send you those books absolutely free. I'll send you the articles I've been featured in International Business Times, Business Insider, Market Insider, the 2 Forbes articles on my strategy, one written by a certified financial planner, one written by a certified public accountant. I'll send you all those absolutely free. And you can do your own due diligence. You won't be on any type of call list. I won't bother you. My Calendly will be in the link if you want to book directly. So that's if you just want the information. Maybe you're not ready to sit down with somebody like me yet. If you are ready to sit down with me, you can go to www.ironhawkfinancial.com, and there's a contact us button on the top right. You just fill out your name, your address, or your name, your email address, and your phone number, and I'll reach out to you personally. I'll send you my Calendly link. We'll set a time to get together. It's absolutely free. Whether you decide to work with me or not, you'll never be charged anything. You can always listen to me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Money Talk with Ironhawk on all platforms. But yeah, if I can help you in any way, my goal is to help you. Like I said, I'll never charge you a penny, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And man, I love your energy, Aaron. I love your spirit. I really enjoyed this a lot, and I really appreciate you allowing me to come on your platform.
Thank you so much. I love real conversations about what's going on. So thank you. We'll make sure, again, all those links are in the show notes, and you'll just be one click away from everybody.
Thank you so much for having me on. I can't tell you how much fun I had.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Ready Yet podcast. I truly enjoy bringing these stories of success and inspiration to you. Please join us in our mission to empower entrepreneurs to be in charge of their businesses and in charge of their lives by sharing this with anyone you know who would benefit from our tactical and motivating advice, leaving us a review, and letting us know if there are any particular topics you would really appreciate hearing about. See you next time.